Okay, did that recording get started? Anybody seeing the recording warning?
I am not yet.
Here it goes. There
And
we
do
go.
we have the attendees seated, or are we planning on self-policing, or what?
Yeah, self-policing.
Okay.
This is an informal group. So, okay, recording has started. All right. Well, welcome everybody to the March 2021 Texas Teams Community Meeting. If you weren't here last month, we had a little bit of fun last month with these guys, these cars, and we announced our theme for the rest of this year. Last month was our 1-year anniversary of the Texas Teams Community, which is super exciting. I can't believe it's been a year already. And man, what a year it has been. And so we announced that this year is going to be all about roads. Where we're going, we don't need roads, because we talked about the concept that when we think about teams and we look at, some of our big competitors, which are fantastic companies, Zoom, WebEx, those are really audio and video conferencing platforms. And as we've seen through some of the last Texas Teams community meetings, especially with the cool stuff that Billy's been showing us, we're really seeing that Teams is much more than just a video conferencing platform. It truly is a productivity platform. And then with some of the automations and the integrations and third-party integrations, so the kind of the analogy that I was making is, Teams isn't really a car. So if WebEx and Zoom are a car, then Teams is more than a car. And I use this cool DeLorean from Back to the Future. And so what we want to do with Teams is really look at modernizing our work practices. And so we talked about that for this year. What we're really going to be talking about is going to the future, and we're going to use this kind of time traveling device as an analogy. And so part of what we're going to focus on today is some of these new capabilities, some things that have been released really over the last month. A lot of announcements that were made at the Ignite conference, and then we're going to showcase some different ways that Teams can be used. If you are not already on the community interest list, and wow, we have grown, we have over 200 plus people that have signed up for the community interest list. So thank you to everybody that has signed up. If you haven't signed up, you can either go to that URL at the bottom, shortened URL, or you can point your phone at the QR code and it will open up the form. It's a Microsoft Forms form that comes with your Office 365, and you just fill that out. And if you want to be removed, if I keep sending you these invites and you don't want to be invited anymore, you can either decline the meeting, but you can also go on there and ask to be removed, and I will do my darndest. I'm going to integrate this stuff in a cool way like Billy Stevenson would have me do. So far, I'm going old school, and it just goes into a spreadsheet, and then I cut and paste. So I need to eat my own. At Microsoft, we say eating our own dog food, which means using our own tech. I need to do that and go ahead and get that set up. Before I go any further, are y'all seeing my slides?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Michael.
Yes.
Excellent. So things we're going to cover. Talk a little bit about things that we announced at the Ignite conference. I started going through and looking at some of the different sessions, and what I decided, instead of really going through point by point by point, is that I created one of the features in when you go to the Ignite conference is this thing called a backpack, where you can put all different sessions in a backpack for yourself. And then you could export that into a Word document. And so I did that. And so I'm going to actually send that out as one of the follow-up items, is just the backpack of sessions that I thought were kind of cool. They mostly revolve around Teams, but then they also revolve some around endpoint protection and some other things that are tangential to, but important to Teams. And so if you did not get to attend any of the sessions at the Ignite conference, then I'll point you to the page for that. Let's see, and someone has started sharing. So someone grabbed the presentation. So I'm going to grab that back. I'm not sure who that is. Right. Oops. Let's see. Are y'all seeing the slides again?
Yes,
We're
sir.
back to your presentation.
Okay, wonderful. And let me do this because I need to share my system audio for a video in just a little bit. So I'm going to stop sharing real quick, and then I will start sharing again. If you want to share a video in a slide deck or from your computer, then you have to check the little toggle the little slider that says share system audio when you.
Have they got that working on the Macs yet?
That's a great question. I don't use a Mac, and I apologize. I don't know. Was that who asked that? Was that Star?
No, it was Andra.
Oh, sorry, Andrew. Hey, how you doing? I don't know the answer to that. I didn't know it was not working. If it's not working, what I would ask you to do, if you don't mind, Andra, is put in a support ticket. If you've already done that, then
It hasn't been an option that's been available for them because we've been trying to get them to do some of it.
I
Yeah,
gotcha.
it was supposed to be rolled out, I think, in January. Was the last roadmap I saw, but I don't know if that happened. But that same impact, we had a few folks that was impacting here at CPA. But I think that has been fixed, but I need to check with our Mac folks and see. But if
Okay,
not,
I'll
it should be
find out
coming
next
super
week.
soon. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And if you don't mind reporting back, that'd be great. Teams is cross-platform. I know that there's a lot more developers that work on the Microsoft version, in other words, the Windows version, than the Mac version, but we should be kind of keeping that at parity. And so but we all know, as we're GCC customers, that sometimes it's not always at parity. Then we're going to go into this new thing, and I'm going to come right in advance and say I don't think it has been released yet in GCC, but will be soon. But it was it's so relevant to where we're going this year that I wanted to talk about it now, because this thing called the Microsoft Productivity Score is a really powerful way to look at where we are as an organization and then make conscious decisions about how we're going to move forward. And so we're going to kind of go through the what, the why, and the how of the productivity score. And then what I want to do is I'm going to steal some time from myself from the Ignite conference, and I want to go through a demonstration that I did that is pulling together some different technologies and really talk about some business transformation capabilities, as I've been learning more from my agency friends about what's going on with regard to return to work. I want to talk a little bit about productivity, return to work, and some different interesting scenarios. And then our favorite time, it's Billy time. We're going to have Billy come on at about 4 o'clock and take us through and show us some more of what's possible. All right. So Teams continues to grow. I just am so impressed with where we have come. And I like to do this every month just because every month I look and I'm just like, wow. Even though we had snowpocalypse last month, I cannot believe how much has happened just since the last time we were together on February 11th. And so in 1 month's time, we added basically another 3,000 people, even though we had snowpocalypse. And we're really getting to such a critical mass of Teams users across almost all of our major agencies. And we have plans to work with the other agencies that have not yet rolled out Teams, that I really feel like we've gotten to a place where we can now go from really thinking about adoption to really thinking about what else can we do with this and how can we really enable business processes. And there have been several announcements that were made. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click over here on this this site. And so when I send out the slides afterward, do y'all remember last month when my power went out while we were in the middle of the presentation?
Vividly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so was that not a little Nostradamus-like precursor to snowpocalypse? I mean, oh my goodness. I don't know about y'all. We had no power for 4 days, and we had family staying with us because we still had water. And wow, what an experience we all went through. Chris, do you have an update on whiteboards? Yes, whiteboards is still coming in Q2. I confirmed that today. Q2, I'm sorry, for calendar year. And so we're still looking at it coming later this year. And it looks like my share just stopped sharing. So let me share again. Yep. Thanks, Roxy. I'm not sure what happened there. I can say that I'm running about 45 tabs right now in my browser, and it's never a good idea to come into an important meeting with a whole bunch of stuff running on your computer. But hey, why not live on the edge? Okay, so let's click over here to the so the reason I brought that up, the power outage is with all the craziness that happened afterward. I realized as I was preparing for this meeting that I did not send out the slides from last month, and so what I'll do is I'll send them both out this month. And my apologies for not sending that. I usually send a link to the recording and then also a PDF of the slides. So I'll send that out. So Ignite is our customer-facing conference that happens once a year in March. We also have Inspire, which happens in the fall, and y'all might remember that I had some notes from the Inspire conference. This March at Ignite, it was again a virtual conference, and so all of our conferences are virtual now, which really creates an opportunity for more people to attend because it doesn't cap out. It's not so expensive to get there, and there's actually no fee to attend. And so if you did not get to go to Ignite, then just Google or Bing or whatever search engine you prefer. DuckDuckGo as a new one, I understand. And so just go and search for Ignite, and all of the sessions that we had were recorded. And so you can go in, and there's some really good Ask the Experts sessions for our friends in IT who are more technical. And then there are some very good sessions about new ways to work and kind of reimagining how we think about the workplace. And so I just encourage you to go and check out some of these different sessions. So if I click over here to the book of news, then let me toggle here and bring this up on the screen. Okay, are y'all seeing a web page that says
Yes.
Microsoft Teams? Okay,
Yes,
let me
sir.
zoom
Yes.
in a little bit. I'm just going to take you through just a couple of these things, and a lot of this, as I said earlier, sorry, let me scroll back down to the beginning. It sort of got out of there. We go. So this book of news, the Ignite book of news, goes through all of the major technologies from Microsoft. So here's a whole section on Outlook, and then there's a section 4.2 on Teams, and there's a table of contents here, and you can get right to the parts. A lot of the things that we showcased here, we actually covered last month because the deck that I shared with y'all had some of the new features and the new announcements. Some things though that we didn't talk about is a challenge that I know I've had because I have been invited in to be a guest in several of my agency's teams. And so when you're a guest, you have to switch between organizations. And so like I'm logged into Microsoft, and then I'll switch and log into City of Austin or log into DIR. And
You just tell them.
what's that?
I better get up because I'm still sitting at the house, girl, in front of the computer talking to you.
I think someone may need to mute there, perhaps.
I think you're right. I will click and
I got them already.
oh, thank you. All right. And so there's this new capability that is going to be coming out. It, of course, is going to roll out in in the commercial cloud first, but it's called Microsoft Teams Connect. And so what that is going to do is allow you to invite external parties into a team without them having to be as a guest and have to switch between tenants. And so you'll be able to have guests in a channel in Teams without having the whole team as a guest team. And so I think this is going to be it's just, I think, the next evolution of the way that we can organize ourselves. So let's just say that you're working with one of the DIR partners on a particular project. Well, you could have that project as a team, and then you could have different channels. Maybe one of the channels for your project managers, one's for your developers, and then one of the channels is inclusive of the partner. And so you have the conversations with the partner, and then you might have a private channel where just the leadership around that particular project are collaborating and sharing documents or something that's really highly secure. So I think that this is going to do a couple of things. I think it'll reduce team sprawl, so the number of team sites that we'll need to have, and it'll just make it easier to keep the content together for the way that we work. So we're going to share a little bit more about some of those techniques for leveraging Teams more effectively in just a bit. PowerPoint Live in Teams is it's an enhancement to what I was trying to do earlier, which is where you can share your PowerPoint. And it looks like I just lost my share again. Are y'all seeing my slides still?
Yes,
Yes,
seeing
you're
the
coming through
point.
very
We see
well.
the website.
Okay, great. And so the PowerPoint Live in Teams is going to be a more inclusive experience, a richer experience. And so last month we talked a little bit about the different views. And so the presenter will be able to put themselves in front of the presentation instead of the way that you guys are seeing it now, where I'm kind of down in the lower right. It'll be more like a newscaster mode. And so the person can position themselves right in front of the content, off to the side of the content. So these are the different views. So this is this presenter mode also. Dynamic views is the ability as different people join the meeting, and if you pin or you spotlight certain presenters, then it will change the layout of the screen depending on what you want to focus on. And so it will give us a much better ability to highlight the people that are presenting than we have been able to in the past, and then be able to resize that. There's also some new Teams Rooms features. Maybe I could get, by show of hands, how many of you are looking at changing your building configuration layouts based on a return to work scenario or a hybrid work scenario? Let's see how many hands we get raised. Okay, well, we got several going up. I had conversations with 2 agencies this week where they were really talking about changing the building leases that they are signing or where they are planning on bringing people back to. And really, we're sharing that they are not planning on bringing they're planning on bringing about, sorry, my dog's running out of the room. Let me let him out. Keeping it real in COVID times, dogs and kids and cats. And so what this creates an opportunity for is 2 things. One, if you have ever been the remote employee where all of your teammates work together and they're on premises in conference room, and you're the one that's on the other end of the conference call, or even a team meeting, it's pretty hard to feel included in the meeting. And so we're making some announcements into the Teams rooms where the virtual meeting experience that a person that's in the room has, or I'm sorry, the real meeting experience that the person in the room has, and the virtual attendee are much more similar and much more whole. And so some of those things are being able to put gallery view up onto the big screen that's in the room. And then we've also made some announcements about new microphones, new room system microphones that have multiple microphones that go around the actual device. And so what that allows us to do is have what we call speaker attribution. And so when we have closed captioning turned on, right now, it captures, in the past, I should say, it just captures the words that are said. And what it's doing now is it does what we call speaker attribution. And that means that, so when I'm speaking, it says Michael and then colon and then what I say. And then like when Billy comes off mute and he speaks, it says Billy, and this is what Billy said. And in the transcript for the meeting, it gives the attribution in the transcript. And so what happens with these new Teams room systems is that the microphone will be able to differentiate who is speaking, and the microphone learns your voice fingerprint, and then it will give speaker attribution even though there can be up to 10 people in the room. And so what that's going to be really good for is if you're remote and you have, I wear hearing aids because I have hearing loss from being stupid when I was younger, doing really noisy things and not protecting my ears. If you have a hearing loss and you really count on closed caption like I do, then you'll actually be able to tell who said what. And if you go back to a recording of the meeting, or if you're looking at a recording or looking at a transcript of a meeting, you can tell who said what. So I think it's going to be a really better experience. The other thing is I'm talking to our agencies about their rooms is oftentimes they have invested into Cisco room systems, and a lot of our agencies leveraged Cisco as their primary meeting platform for many years. And so as more and more of our agencies are switching to using Teams, then they've got this hardware and they need that to still be compatible. And so there is a really nice compatibility through a technology called VDI, so that Teams can integrate into your WebEx rooms if you are still using WebEx by using this technology called VDI. The other thing that is out is there is a company called Pexip, P-E-X-I-P, and we have a partnership with Pexip. And so the way that that works is it actually is a software that can run in the cloud, it can run on premises, it can run in a hybrid mode, and it actually registers those endpoints, which are your meeting rooms, your Cisco hardware meeting rooms, and can actually make it so if you wanted to not have a Cisco WebEx contract or use Cisco WebEx but wanted to switch over to Teams, then you can do that, and you can still use all of the hardware because it knows how to do all of the conversations between the hardware. So whether you're integrating your rooms with Cisco technology, you're using Teams-based technology, and whether you have a Cisco WebEx contract or not, all of these things can work together now. And so a lot of progress has been made, and I think that's going to create some some interesting conversations that we need to have as we look at hybrid return to work and return to work scenarios. Let me pause there. Any questions about that? Because I know I just covered a whole lot of information.
Hi, Michael. This is Chris Button. Hey, just for clarity, is the integration tool for Cisco WebEx available now?
It is. Yeah, it's called PEXIP, and I had a call with them today. I'm sorry, I had a call with them on Wednesday morning because I had heard that Microsoft in this partnership with Pexip, we will pay for 6 months of their service. There's a huge ROI on it because if you're paying for 2 meeting services, then that's quite a bit of money. And so if you can cancel one of those and cancel the audio bridge costs of one of them, then that can be a nice recoupment of dollars being spent. But yeah, it's a current offering, Chris. And what we'll need to work through is I've tried to give away money before where Microsoft has some kind of funding for a partner or something, and sometimes it still needs to go through a procurement. So if we need to do that, and if you're interested in talking about it, just reach out to me, and we can work through the details together because I want to make sure that we do it the right way with the your DIR contracts and DCS dollars and all those kinds of things, because I know that gets a little challenging.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet, Chris. Any other questions about that? I see a hand up over here. Yeah.
Michael, I was just going to say, hey, hi, I finally made it into the meeting. Sorry. Kimberly Simmons had her hand up. I don't know if she has a question though.
She may just have raised it earlier when I was asking. Okay, she took it down. Thanks, Kimberly. Yeah, I appreciate you raising your hand earlier. Okay, any other hands up? Chris, you've still got your hand up, but you got your question answered. Is that right?
Yes, I was typing. Sorry.
All right, no problem. Okay, excellent. So again, lots going on with the room. So gallery view in Teams rooms. This is the Microsoft certified hardware that I talked about. I did actually just check out. Dell has a video conferencing monitor, and then they integrate that with Poly, which used to be Polycom, and they also have some of the Logitech systems. And so they have these really large format touchscreen monitors. Now they get pretty expensive when they get big, but they're really nice. And so you actually have a big touchscreen. Now there's the Microsoft Surface Hub, which can be up to 85 inches on the wall. And it's a fully integrated Windows 10 machine and really slick. And then they have a Microsoft Surface Hub that goes on an easel and actually has a battery pack, so you can roll it around without it being plugged into the wall. And so there's just a lot of options with hardware. I don't sell any of that. I don't, but I can connect you with the right people. And we have a specialist on our team named Mike Rogers who really understands kind of the hardware when it comes to the Microsoft stuff.
Hey,
These are the
Michael,
intelligent speakers. Yes, sir.
I'm
Keith.
sorry. I just thought of a question,
Yeah.
which was, I've noticed in private channels that we don't have the functionality of scheduling a meeting inside a private channel. Is that something that Microsoft is looking at down the road, or is that just going to have to be a thing?
Yeah, it's a great question, Keith, and you are 100% correct. It's not a glitch. For some reason, and I don't really understand the tech reason behind the scene, private channels do not have the capability of scheduling a channel meeting. And I really think channel meetings are powerful, and I'm hoping that we'll come out with that. I'll look into that, Keith, and see if I can get the answer on when it's coming. When you create a private channel, it actually creates a completely separate site collection. So a team's when you create a team, it creates a group. I'm sorry, I didn't mean site collection. I meant a group. When you create a private channel, it actually creates a separate group as well, just for that private channel. Even though the two are sitting right next to each other inside of a team, for security purposes, we actually create this separate group, and it has something to do with that. And I'm not sure why, but
Yeah.
I'll try to find out, Keith.
Cool.
It's a great
Appreciate
question.
it.
Yeah, you bet. So other things that we are putting in, and we talked a little bit about this last month, is Teams meetings are going to scale from a capacity. The published capacity is 300 simultaneous attendees. So right now we have a little over 100 probably in this meeting, but what's going to be coming, so where it is today, it says 300 if you look on the internet, but it's actually 350. I don't know why they have that disparity, but it is moving to 1,000 simultaneous attendees in a Teams meeting. No additional licenses required. Just all of a sudden you'll be able to have 1,000 simultaneous members. Now, if you think about, we got 100 plus people. We've had one accident where someone came off mute. You go throw 1,000 people into a meeting. That's a lot of people that could accidentally come off mute. And so we're putting in much more granular controls. Billy. Sorry, y'all. So we're putting in much more granular controls with regard to hard mute, which means that people are not able to come off of mute. And are y'all still seeing my slides? Oh, I'm sorry, y'all still seeing the web page?
Still seeing the web page. Yes.
Okay, great. Because I see Billy like full screen on the monitor up here. No, nobody else sees it, Billy, but that's a beautiful red sweater. Y'all will see him in a little bit. Hey, Billy. And so we're getting much more granular with the controls. And so when you invite people to the meetings, you'll have the ability to hard mute. You'll have the ability to disable video. There is going to be chat moderation controls. The chat moderation controls will be coming later in the year, like maybe around mid-year. But these other capabilities are going to be coming out really in the next couple of months, and some of them by the end of March. We also made an announcement of end-to-end encryption for one-on-one Teams calls. Right now, all the Teams traffic is encrypted with TLS, Transport Layer Security. And so this is just taking that encryption to as this guy I know said, a whole nother level. Well, it's taken to this whole nother level. So if you had some communication that, again, I need to dig in a little bit more. This just got announced and I haven't seen any white papers on it. But if there's something that just double super top secret, then apparently there's an even further layer of security that can be added to a one-to-one Teams call. Multi-geo support, I don't think this really is going to apply for any of our customers here. Maybe some of our educational institutions who, like University of Texas, might have some international branches, but I think for most of our agencies and our city customers and county customers, this shouldn't be something that we need to be concerned about. So we talked about 1,000. We're going to be able to support up to 20,000 people joining a Teams meeting in broadcast mode. And so it's up to 1,000 people in a meeting like this. It's completely interactive. You can come off mute. You can share your screen. You can be a presenter. Now we can lock that down. But if you have more than 1,000 people join, all the way up to 20,000 simultaneous attendees, from 1,001 on up, they will join instead of a listen-only mode. So this could be really good for your large-scale public meetings. The other thing that we announced, I talked a little bit about last time, is that we're going to have the capability to stream to audio services. So things like Facebook Live, YouTube streaming services, and that'll be more of a native integration, so much easier to use. You can do it right now leveraging a technology called OBS, which is a kind of a video muxing and switching platform. But it's going to be just really dead easy to do in the coming months. Another thing with these higher capacity meetings, and something that multiple agencies have asked for, is a registration page. And Billy showed a couple of months ago how you can create a page, and when you fill out the form, it will automatically add you to the meeting and send you the meeting request attached to an email. And so this is going to actually be integrated into Teams coming up. And so there'll be a registration page that's on the internet. You can publish it. So if you had a public-facing meeting, you could publish that URL. And then when someone registers, it will go into the default behavior will be to go into a spreadsheet. But you can also connect that to Dynamics 365 or Salesforce, or if you have another CRM, we could talk about whether you could integrate it into that. You could always integrate it using Power Automate, but this will be some native integration. So if you're doing big marketing campaigns, or you're doing something where you're really sharing a lot of information with your constituents, then this could be something where you could integrate it into your CRM system, which I think could be really powerful for some of our larger programs that have a lot of community outreach.
Hey,
Questions about that? Yeah.
Well, I know about questions about that. I got a couple of questions in the chat room pertaining to, so for example, Erica, does anyone know how to check your team's audio conferencing usage?
Yeah.
And she adds that, and Erica, you may want to jump off mute and explain your question, because
yeah, I know the nature of her question there, I think. And so Erica, why don't you come off mute and then tell me if I get it right. The first thing is that there is a report that is available, and I can get the URL for that, or if somebody knows, maybe they could look it up real quick. There's a report that shows you where you are with regard to your outbound conferencing usage. And so what that means is many of you have taken advantage of our audio conferencing promotion. And what that is free audio conferencing for the duration of your EA. And a lot of you are with the state, and you get your Microsoft software through the DCS contract. And in that case, your contract started on December 1st of 2020, and it goes through November 31st of 2023. But if you have an EA, an enterprise agreement with Microsoft, then you can get free audio conferencing included with your contract. And that means that when you create a Teams meeting, you can have a dial-in telephone number. This is a toll number, but you can have multiple local toll numbers, like a 512 area code, an area code for Dallas, an LA area code, whatever you need. And it is an option to add a toll-free number, but there is a charge for that. In addition, you get a pool of 60 minutes per license. So if you have 100 people that are licensed, let's make the math easy on my head today. If you have 10 people that are licensed for audio conferencing and they each have 60 minutes, then each month you have 600 minutes that are available for outbound dialing. That is what you might need to be checking, Erica, is how many outbound dialing minutes you use, because there is a limit. You can buy more. It's sort of like a cell phone thing. If you have, it's like an overage, but we don't want to do that if we don't have to. And so that's the report to look at. Now, the other thing is just is what you reference is the 20% usage. All of you who were, well, okay, no, I shouldn't say that. Every agency that I talked to about using the audio conferencing promotion was already more than 20% of your people were using Teams for meetings. And that's what you have to do. You have to have 20% of your people using Teams for meetings in order for the audio conferencing promotion to continue to be free after the first 6 months. They basically don't want to give you a whole bunch of audio conferencing and stand up a bunch of audio conferencing infrastructure in the cloud if a customer's not going to use it. And so that's what that requirement is. Erica, did that answer your question?
But the problem I have is when I go on the admin center, I did try to open the report, but from the report, like the question I expressed in the chat, I just see, because we already have some users already use the audio conferencing features, but I did not see the usage and I did not see the calling out minutes in that one, but we did try it, so that is my question.
Yeah, so Erica, two things there. The first is that there may be a little glitch. I know that as uniform as this thing should be, sometimes someone's tenant just has something a little bit wrong with it. And so why don't we put a request in through your CSAM, through your TAM, and make sure that there isn't a glitch. And then we can also have someone help you with digging into those reports. Does that sound all right?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah. And I know you had sent an email with several questions, and I wasn't able to answer a lot of them. And so we were kind of, I don't know if someone answered you already, but if they haven't, then we'll get back with you, because I know you had some additional questions that were beyond my knowledge. They were around some licensing things and things.
Okay, appreciate it.
Michael, Char's got her hand up. I don't know if she's got a question, or Char, I am saying he or she, they have a question.
Yes.
Yeah, speaking of the webinars, that's great news. We had been using Skype for our webinars for all of our grants and programs where we do workshops with grantees who'd like to possibly do a grant with TCEQ, and we would like a lot more information on how to move into the new world outside of Skype, because I think Skype's going away, correct?
You are 100% right about that. And so Skype is going away. I think it's June 31st or July 1st, soon. And so if you are still using Skype, last month we covered a fast track program to help you with the migration from Skype to Teams. So if you have a lot of people that are using it, then please reach out to me and just put Skype, TCEQ, or whatever in the subject line if you need any help doing that transition. If it's more just that you're using it for things like this, Char, then these capabilities are going to be coming out before Skype goes away. And so there'll be plenty of time to get y'all trained up on how to use those.
Okay, so basically what happens with us is all through the year as the legislature goes and they create new programs, we have to change programs. We open throughout the year, and then we invite the entire state of Texas, depending on unattainable zones and stuff, into these meetings, and we explain to them about the program. So this happens on an ongoing basis throughout the year. And we've just closed one program. We did a workshop probably through Skype, and I'm anticipating a new one for government people to be able to take advantage of some of our programs coming up within the next couple of months. So I think we have a little bit of time, but it would be really nice to maybe have some sort of documentation to give my people, or maybe a quick demo, or whatever is easiest for you, or if someone's doing that, we're happy to sit in.
Yeah, so it's funny that you mentioned that. I was on a call earlier today at 10 a.m. with some of my peers, and that exact request of, can we get some screenshots to step someone through how that works? We don't have the documentation yet because the feature hasn't been released yet, but I have seen the screen captures, and it's really intuitive. So yes, we will absolutely schedule some time together. Char, if you want to just let's give it a couple of weeks at least until that feature rolls out, maybe as much as a month. And then let's get together once it's rolled out so that we can actually show you and your tenant and step through for reals. Does that sound okay?
That sounds perfect. Thank you.
All right. Awesome. Thank you.
Michael,
yes.
I got two things. One, William had a question back in the chat not long after Erica. Where'd it go? What would be the difference between listen only and live events? And then Roxy has her hand up for a question.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Keith. So the difference between the listen only mode and live events is if you've ever used live events, it's a little tricky. And I know that our friends over at Parks, TPWD, Texas Parks and Water Department, boy, they got really, really good at using live events because they use it for their commissioners' meetings. And you don't really want to look bad in front of your commissioner. And so, but it takes a lot of doing to run a live event, and it's a little tricky, and it has some feature limitations. So the advantage of using a large scale Teams meeting with the ability to hard mute everybody is it's just the same interface that you're used to. You just mute everybody. And then if 1,000 people and 1,001 join, then they will literally go into a listen only. But if you have 1,000 people in a meeting and you want to allow chat, then you can have 1,000 people in the chat. Now, I can't imagine trying to answer questions from 1,000 people at the same time, but you could have a moderated chat, which will be coming later in the year. And that's more like with a live event where you have a chat where someone posts a chat, they post a question, and then a moderator can either answer that question privately or post it to the public Q&A and then answer the question in the public Q&A. So easier interface, more capabilities than you have in live events, and no additional fees. Hopefully that gets it. Thank you. There you go, William. Yeah, good.
Roxy,
what do you got?
Thank you, Keith and Michael. A while ago, Michael, you mentioned closed captioning, and we are getting disparate experiences here in this particular meeting. When I go to the ellipsis, I have a closed captioning option, turn on live captions, but nothing happens when I do that. However, there are other people mentioning in chat that they are seeing closed captioning. What's causing the difference? Why are we having different experiences?
So there's a couple of reasons for a couple of possible reasons for that, Roxy, and it's a good question. So the first is you may be on an old version of Teams, and so it is very, very important to keep the Teams client up to date because we do roll out features pretty aggressively, and so especially if you're in IT and you have to support it, then you might think it's like really aggressively, but the Teams client can be set to auto update. And that makes some of our friends in IT pretty nervous because, let's just say something rolls out and it breaks something. Well, that can happen, but we have so many users, so many customers using Teams worldwide that we figure out pretty much in a hurry if we messed up and we broke something and can fix that. And so the first reason your Teams client is an older client. So the second possibility, and this is just the fall on the sword moment here, and it's not me, but apparently, and I don't understand all the particulars, but apparently we sort of had two different builds of Teams going at the same time, and something occurred and they kind of got out of sync with each other, and we are literally, as we speak, rolling out to fix that and synchronize the versions of Teams that are out there. So Roxy, it's possible that is what's going on, and I know that's not a detailed answer, and that's not really enough information to go on, but Michael, that could be what's causing it. Yes, Chris.
Michael, hi, this is Chris Biden. May I interject?
Please.
Roxy, so our client version is up to date of Teams at TWC, but can I encourage you to go ahead and submit a ServiceNow ticket, and I'll have someone reach out to you personally and look and see what's going on with that scenario.
Okay. FYI, it does work in my smaller meetings. This is one where it's not working, but in other meetings it has been working.
Interesting. And Chris, if it's not,
I'm having the same experience as Roxy. Live captions
Okay.
consistently works within our agency meetings, and it has worked in some of the team's community meetings in the past, I think. It's just not working on this one for me.
Okay. This is the third scenario, which I had completely forgotten about, but you just connected those two synapses again. There can be, when you have a commercial Office 365 subscription and you have a GCC subscription, and those two are meeting together, then we have problems with closed captioning working between those two. That's why it's working. It's not working here because Microsoft is the commercial O365 tenant, and y'all are in GCC tenants at TWC and over at Texas Parks and Wildlife Department. And so that is what's causing this. Now they are working on that, and I understand that there is a fix. They do understand why it's not working and what to do about it, and so they're working on it. Thank you for helping me. Nice, Keith.
Thank,
Yeah.
thank you, and I'm glad to hear that they're aware and that there's a fix on the way.
Yeah, and I'll share that at our next Tech Talk coffee break to everybody.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. That's great. Let's see. Joy, did you have a question there, or is that?
Oh, I was just going to say, in the past, sometimes when something's come out that a lot of us are using and trying to learn, we've also hosted some exploration sessions.
Yeah.
Not training. Nobody's the expert. We just kind of all get together and figure it out and teach each other. I'd be happy to host some of those once the new features are released. Some of the folks on this call have been to those in the past, but we could definitely do some of that in addition to anything formal that Microsoft wants to provide.
I love it. Thank you, Joy. Yeah, it'd be really cool to get some early adopters using it and then share some of that. And then whether you call them champions or influencers, really sharing in and amongst your agencies as well as through this community, how that works and what your experiences have been. I'm always interested in hearing, what works. I'm also interested in hearing what doesn't work. So I really appreciate y'all telling me, hey, yeah, that's broken. And it gives me the opportunity either to direct you to your IT, like Chris, implement a ServiceNow request, or to our CSAM, or I can always go to Teams Engineering as well. We talked a little bit about Microsoft Viva, which is a completely new category of product called an employee experience platform, an EXP. So we have CRM, customer relationship management. Before that, we had ERP, enterprise resource planning. So Viva is an EXP, employee experience platform. It is built on top of and surfaced through Teams, and it's leveraging a lot of technologies that are sort of out there floating in the ecosystem around Teams. And so there's learning, there's insights, there's topics, there's connections, and so this will be coming out over really the next year, year and a half. We made a big announcement about it to sort of, I think, put a line in the sand for ourselves. And it will be an additional cost for some of the modules. However, it is going to be extremely powerful to be able to provide insight, provide integrated training, topics. If you're reading a paragraph in a document and there's a word in there that it recognizes, like a project name or something, and can actually pop up information about what that word is or what that thing is. Again, very powerful, and we can, when we get further along, I'll go into more detail. As y'all know, my job is not to sell licenses of new things. So as y'all procure this, I'll probably be one of the people helping you take advantage of it. But for now, I'm real focused on, and only focused on, what is included with your subscription and what you're already paying for. But that's Viva, and it's cool. It's really cool. But let's get past that. So that gets to the end of some of the, and these were kind of big top level announcements, but I want to show a video of another thing that we announced. Show of hands, how many of you have ever heard of or are familiar with Microsoft HoloLens? Okay, a couple of hands, 2, 4, all right, 5. Okay, so y'all may have seen before. Oh, actually, I have one right here. Hold on one sec. You may have heard of virtual reality. So virtual reality is something like this, and you put it over your face, and like this one, you actually put your cell phone inside of, and then you download special software. But your cell phone actually is the virtual reality lens. Oops, it's not in focus. Sorry about that. There we go. They have others that you plug into your computer from the USB. So Microsoft, and that's called virtual reality. And what that means is you put it on and you can't see anything that's going on in the real world, but you see this amazing level of detail of like virtual stuff. Microsoft HoloLens is what's referred to as augmented reality. Augmented reality means that you are seeing what's going on in the world around you, and you can see through the shield, but imposed on the shield are objects that are augmenting reality. So sort of like Pokemon Go, where you would hold your phone up and you would look, and there these Pokemon things. I didn't ever play it, but I heard it was really cool. And you go around and you see these things that aren't really there. Well, the HoloLens actually gives you a three-dimensional, very incredibly lifelike experience as you interact with these objects that are not in the room. And this has been around for a while, and it certainly has it has a certain cool factor, but it's being leveraged by many organizations around the world for training purposes, learning purposes, maintenance purposes. And so like Boeing uses it. Literally a mechanic is looking at a jet engine, and imposed across the top of the jet engine are maintenance logs and part numbers. And if they need to order a part, they can click on that, and you can literally interact with these three-dimensional objects as if they were real. And so what I want to do is I want to show you a video of an announcement that we made called Microsoft Mesh. Before, when you were going to have these augmented reality and you were going to have these three-dimensional objects, and you were going to have other people interacting with you, there was a lot of infrastructure that you need to set up, and it was cloud-hosted infrastructure for the most part, but the coordination of that could be a bit challenging. So we announced a foundational set of services that run in the cloud called Microsoft Mesh that bring together augmented reality, like through the HoloLens, virtual reality is if you had a headset on, and it typically comes with things that you hold in your hands to be able to control different devices, and then also using like a PC or a phone as your interface. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the trailer, sort of the intro video, and then there are some deep dives on Mesh. And the reason I want to show this to you, first, it's just mind-blowing. And the video is really well done. But secondly, I want us to start thinking about field enablement scenarios where we might be able to leverage HoloLens. And so things that I think of is field maintenance. I've talked to a couple of agencies about this, where maybe you're out and you have some expert that works either probably at home, but and they really know a lot about all these different systems. And you have other people that may not be as deeply trained or as deeply knowledgeable. And if someone's out in the field and they are, let's just say they're working on a bridge, or they're working on a fence around a prison system, or they're working on pumps in a water system, or they're out looking at a stream and there's some pollution going on or something that shouldn't be there, or the water's rising, then they can actually interact with another person and show them what they're seeing. So let me play this video, and then it's really just it's a bit of a wow factor, but then I also just want us to start thinking about are there ways that we might be able to integrate this into the work that we get to do? So here's Microsoft Mesh. And someone let me know if you're hearing it once it starts playing.
Connection.
Sounds good.
Gives our lives meaning. It drives us to seek out others who feel the same way.
Okay, why don't you input the data and we'll take a look together. Hey Mari, what you got for me?
To find those who share our views, yet offer different perspectives.
Look over here.
Challenge us with new ways of seeing.
That I think we should.
Deepen our understanding. and enrich our lives.
最后一笔的时候，往前
Great things happen when we commit to something bigger than ourselves.
Take a closer look at it.
Place this here. Let's see how we go from there, okay?
This sense of collaboration and the feelings of connection it brings excites us.
Hey, just in time. I'm gonna move it slightly, okay?
It's yours, take it.
We have 2 planes right now on the same trajectory.
As we put people first, technology fades into the background and feels like anything but.
Aisha, what do you think?
I think if we had 330, maintaining 2800, we'll be clear for approach.
Excellent.
This changes the way we see the world, and in turn, changes the world we see.
These numbers are looking great, actually.
There's promise in the possibilities, and what we see and create next will stretch the imagination.
Good morning, Sarah.
Morning.
Slowly coming towards the thumb.
A world without boundaries.
Good job. A lot better than yesterday.
Yeah.
Excellent. Slowly bring the
A world where technology enhances, not limits, humanity. With people front, center, and in the spotlight. The future is here. And here can be anywhere. Introducing Microsoft Mesh.
So that just blows my mind. It is just now some of this, like the holograph of her, I think is some of Futures, but I watched some of the deeper dives into this technology, and it is absolutely incredible what we're doing. And we're working with the founder of Cirque du Soleil on augmented reality global experiences. It's a very interesting time to be alive and be working in technology. So we had a lot of super good questions, and I went into a lot more depth and spent a lot more time talking about the Ignite announcements. And what I don't want to do is take any time away from Billy, because he does an amazing job. And so I'm going to push the productivity score discussion until our next session. And what I'd like for us to think about, now that we've laid this foundation of capability with Microsoft Teams, what are the things that we can do to ensure that our end users are getting the most benefit from this? And last month we spoke, or I think the month before that, about Start for Teams, that initiative that I put together where we have Adoption Foundation, we have Communication Foundation, Training Foundation, and then Digital Workplace Transformation. And I'd like to start working with y'all around scenarios where we can really transform the way that people work. We're not going to be coming back together and working together in one building and sitting next to each other anytime soon. And so we really need to enable these hybrid work scenarios. And I'm going to share with y'all a video that I did. It's a demonstration leveraging Adobe Sign, which is like DocuSign. It's a digital signature technology. And I put together a scenario around employee onboarding. And I'd encourage you to watch it, because as I'm talking to my agency friends and we think about even 10% turnover in an agency, for an agency of, I mean, let's just say, some of our 10,000 person agencies, or even 1,000 person agency, that's 100 people to onboard next year at just 1,000 people if you only had 10% turnover. And how are we going to onboard people who are remote and have never been into the office and are never going to go into the office? And I'm also going to include an HBR, a Harvard Business Review idea cast that was a really nice recording about a new way to think about when we're trying to attract and recruit and hire new employees, that they can be anywhere. Since they're not going to be coming to the office, it sort of expands our thinking about how do we think about it, bringing in talent, and then, but how are we going to onboard them? So that's what that video is about. So without further ado, Billy Stevenson, are you ready, sir?
We stay ready so we don't have to get ready.
I was ready to say, you have to ask if Billy's ready.
I know.
Now, I will make you aware to Michael. I actually did this presentation for my organization today. It lasted about 10 minutes. It's Power Automate. We're revisiting that again, but from the lens of Teams. So how to incorporate it in Teams and leverage various Teams functions, such as sending individual messages or also Teams messages on a recurring basis, as well as a trigger. So with that said, if you want to jump into your other conversation that you're pushing.
All right. Well, when you get done, if we then I'll go through the employee onboarding scenario if we have time.
Okay, chill. All right. Well, hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you yet again. It is my favorite time of the month. So today I'm going to give you a real life jump right in live preview or live example demonstration of Power Automate. Why do I keep talking about Power anything? You know why? Because digital transformation is the linchpin of where we are today and where your organization will go in the future. And, not every organization may be for profit, but every organization is for purpose. And so to better facilitate your ability to deliver value to your organization, it would stand to reason that the more help you have, the better. And what better help to lean on? What better help to lean on than that of your machines and artificial intelligence and automation? And that is now easier and simpler than ever, especially with it being incorporated with the subscription that you already get from your organization. I still always get so excited because literally it's included. You know what I mean? It's like buying a car and then you find out it flies. What? I don't need roads now? I didn't have to buy another one? It's just great. So what I want to talk to you about first is I want to make you aware of what we're going to talk about. We've done a Power Automate demonstration before, where I actually took you into the Power Automate tool from office.com, and we made some automation there. And the last one we used was what's called a triggered event. So when somebody filled out this form, then it triggered a certain amount of actions. Today's demonstration is going to be Power Automate as well, but I'm going to show you how to create and manage automations right from Teams. No need to go to a different screen. No need to go to office.com, though you can and manage them there. And what you're going to find when we jump into this in just one moment is you're going to find that it's super easy to do. And Teams realizes that you're making automation in Teams and provides templates for you already. So my goal today is to get you a little bit more comfortable with automation. That's number one. See the value that I can bring from a recurring basis and a trigger basis. That's number two. And number three, to really get you excited and light your pilot to want you for you to want to go and do some more discovery around what kind of ways that Power Automated Teams can help you in your organizations. So without further ado, let's take a look, shall we? I'm going to share my screen. Give me 1 second to get that up and running.
Billy, this is the part I call the plate spinning.
Ah,
We're spinning. Let me go find that other plate to spin. There you go.
Hey, look, y'all, it's y'all. Me looking at my calendar. So I'm going to give it a couple seconds to show up on your screen. And this is the Teams window. It should look familiar to you. Indeed. So on the left-hand side, you see I have Power Automate already pinned. But if that is not you, which it likely is not, you'll go to your three dots here, your ellipsis, and you're going to search for Power Automate. And then you'll click it and you'll add it, and then you'll be able to open it. So I'm going to click that application. My computer's a little bit slower today. Since I already have it open and downloaded and everything, it took me straight to Power Automate's home screen. So let's take a look at what we're looking at. I'm not going to too much recap what we did with Power Automate because, of course, most of you were here, and if not, it is recorded. But I want to give you the new layout that you're looking at. So when you usually go to the Power Automate page, it's got a little bit different layout. This is the Teams application. So as you can see, I haven't left my Teams screen, and it gives me some options here at the top. My home, which is where we are. I can jump straight to our create screen to start creating one. One that I really love is, if you can recall, there's a couple of ways to do automation. So the first one is to kick it off as you see fit. You click a button and it happens. I select when it starts, and it doesn't start unless I click a button and say go. I can run those flows also from the chat field right in here. So I can tell it what flow I want it to run. Now, the other flows that we're going to talk about today and things to keep in mind is the triggered flow, which says when this action happens, make the subsequent actions occur. And then lastly, you have your scheduled flows, and that's going to be the scope of today. The scheduled flow is on every week at this time in this day, or every other day, or every hour, I want you to do this. So I can do the manuals here, and it's really awesome. In addition to that, I can also see my approvals, which also come through Power Automate. I don't know if you have access to the approvals modules. I think you do. You can tell me if I'm wrong, Michael, but you have that capability to review your approvals here as well. But the point that we're going to use today, some transformational stuff over here, is we're going to look at Power Automate for triggered events, and to keep continuity, we'll talk about triggering an event from a form, and then also we'll talk about recurrence. So the first thing I want to draw your attention to is as I start to create flows for various teams and channels, they'll be listed here. So I'll be able to go through those flows and turn them on and off, etc. The next thing is that they are so wise over at Microsoft and Power Automate that they've given us some popular Teams templates for flows that people are already using. For instance, this flow right here, specifically this template, has created 16,229 flows. So if I were you, I would say, I mean, obviously it's working, obviously it has some value. So here are some starters just to get you started, and to get you to look into them later. Like, this is one of my favorite ones, notifying a team when a new forms response is submitted. Let's look at it from a transformational point of view. If I was to create a form that may be a quiz, as in some cases, it may be a request for information, it may be customer facing, maybe you're using forms as a way that your customers can input information for you. If I am doing this manually, I create that form, the customer fills it out, and then I am responsible, or an admin is responsible, or an analyst is responsible for going and checking the forms every hour or every day to see if we have any requests. Maybe some of you are fancy and you start getting emails, but the automated way of doing that is to say, hey, Power Automate, will you do me a favor? Just keep an eye on this form. And then when anybody submits it, send it to this team where all of the people who work those cases are located. And so what happens is when the customer fills out that form, Power Automate says, I got you, and sends a message to whatever channel and whatever team you prefer. Or you can also set it up, check this out, this is really gonna blow your mind, I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty magical. You can actually have the form send an individual message to a specific person in chat just by clicking this button. And it'll just give you some drop downs and you'll pick what you want to do. So I just want you to know that's a small view into what the templates that are here can do for you. But what I want to do is I want to create a flow, right? And so the flow is what you call the actual automated sequence of events. It's called a flow because it flows. And so what we're going to do is the top right hand corner right here, we got the new flow button. I'm going to click it. It's going to hit me again with a whole bunch of templates, which is great if you're like thinking, but you want to explore. Here are all the popular templates. I can click see more to see more. And then also they have some other ones organized on the left-hand side by function. So if I have a calendar type of thing I want to do, if I want to create a button, here are some templates for when I click this button, these things happen. Here's some data collection templates. And as you can see, they're all focused on leveraging Teams, which is why I like open Power Automate in Teams when I want to leverage Teams to do something. But what I want to show you is not necessarily set up on the left-hand side. And so I want you to pay real close attention as we create from blank. Now, if you recall our last lesson on Power Automate, you have to first set up a trigger. What starts the automation? You have to make sure you tell it. If it's going to be a button, that's fine. I can click flow button for mobile. And then now on my mobile application, I can click the button and it makes all the automation happen. But in this particular instance, I want to focus on recurrence. So our institution is implementing based on some state and local, you would know about that, some state and local requirements for IT departments about compliance and about information security. And so our organization is taking it pretty seriously and is doing some serious consequences if you don't finish your compliance training on time, so that we can show to our state government and our federal government and our healthcare institutions and all of those good things that audit us and watch us that we've done what we're supposed to do. So as a benefit to our leaders who were on the call today, I showed them how to set up a recurring scheduled flow to remind people in a specific teams, don't forget to do your compliance training. This is your weekly reminder, don't forget. And right now you have people, this person remembering, that person remembering, put it on their calendar to type the email, to send it out, to find the distribution list. Oh my gosh. And so I want to show you how you can schedule, because I want to schedule something, right? I'm going to type the word schedule. And you see, before I even do it, here's schedule. And I'm going to show you how to schedule a recurrence. So when I click recurrent schedule, the first thing it does is it gives me an interval and a frequency. So right now, what I'm telling Power Automate is I want you to run whatever actions I put after this every minute. And that's just a little, it's a little exorbitant, I would say. So we're going to take that up to every week. I want to just send a weekly reminder. That's it. Right now, this whatever actions I put after this will recur at the second I press save. So 419 every week in perpetuity. If I want to get a little bit more granular or specific, I can choose a time zone and then tell it a specific start time or day. I can tell it a specific day of the week, so maybe only on Thursdays. I can tell it to have on a specific hour, so maybe at 10 p.m. 10 a.m. every day. I can set a date range for that and all kinds of great stuff. But I don't want to do that, so I'm gonna make it real easy. I'm just gonna say literally every week from the time I press the button. Let's keep it simple. So I'm gonna create a new step. What I want to do is I want to send a message to teams. So again, I now have to pick an operation or an action, and I can search it by the application it is. So for instance, if I wanted to write something into Excel, which you've seen me do, I can choose Excel. But in today's example, I want to type in Teams. And the goal for me here is to click Microsoft Teams so that you can see all of the various actions, all of the various ways Teams can serve you when doing automated functions. You have maybe if somebody wants to request access to a Teams, there is an automated access request, as you know. You can literally, if you're not an owner, I can say I want to add somebody and it'll ask the owner, can they add it? But maybe you want to incorporate a Teams page, a form. You can change the recurrence to form, create a request form, and then once it's been seen, you can have Teams automatically add a person. There's a ton of different things it can do. But for today, I just want to post a message. That's all I want to do real quick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click add a team ID. It's going to load. Again, Teams is all integrated. And I'm going to pick which one I want to write that message to. And I'm going to click the channel that I want to add it to. And then I'm going to type the message. I can hyperlink, I can bold, I can color, I can code if I want to. I have some advanced options like putting a subject at the top of it. And whatever message I type here and click save, every week, it'll post. That's simple. Look at that. I'm 1 minute over. Oh, actually, I'm right on my 10-minute demonstration. I know you thought it was going to be way more complex than that. It's not. It's very, very, very simple. And so my whole goal for you is to really get you to kind of go in and explore and play. Get the people around the table who need to ideate with you and just ideate, brainstorm. Look at the tools that you have. I mean, I'm telling you, the tools are so expansive. This may be a benefit for you with Teams. Maybe if you want to double that up, remember, anytime you're in Power Automate, you can create what is called a parallel branch. So that is two branches of actions occurring simultaneously. So maybe I want you to do a message, but at the same time you're doing a message, I also want to craft an email, and I get an email sent and I get a Teams message sent, and it's the same thing. I can choose the to field, I can choose the subject, I have some dynamic text here. In addition to that, I can choose if I have a resource email or a different email that I have access to send from, maybe my boss's email I have access to send from. I can type his name in the from field and it'll send from that field. I can attach, I can choose high or low importance. There are a ton of different things that I have an opportunity to do here. So I really wanted to kind of show you the use of recurrence. I wanted you to see it and know that I can set automation by time. I also wanted to make sure I drove that the first thing you should focus on is Teams. There's a lot of different things you can do. Posting messages. I told you can post an individual message as well, right? So if I go add an action and I choose Teams again, you'll see an option in here to send a message to a particular person. I can post a message as the Flowbot, so it'll come from the Flowbot, not Billy, to a user. So literally I would go in here and I would choose the email address of the user. And when I do that, it'll search my Active Directory and I can find anybody who's in my Active Directory, be it a UT South or for my institution, right? I work at UT Southwestern. So UT Southwestern institution person or somebody who's a guest that's in our directory. I always have the option. I can type a message in a subject there with some options on how it triggers that. So I really wanted to show you this today, and I hope that you glean some benefits from it. And I will now pause for any questions, comments, or concerns. Thus ends Billy time. Again, I want to make sure you know Michael came up with the name, not I. But I have embraced it. I have indeed.
You don't get off that easy, that quickly, Billy. I think Shar's got a question.
Come on, Shar. Am I available for a limited question? You better believe it.
Thank you. I have had the worst time trying to adjust the date so that I can add an Excel spreadsheet and give it a date 30, 60, 90 days in the future and have that correctly flow. And so we figured that out, but there are all kinds of little puzzles. I'm curious to see if we hit a snag, limited, not, bothering you all the time. If there was any
like
way
literally,
we could ask
if you have any questions like in the future.
Yes.
Yeah, you can definitely ask me questions. You can ask, absolutely. I kind of want to figure out how you can ask me and Michael. So I'll send my email address. I want to always make sure he's copied in so that he knows what questions are going on in his area. But I would love to be able to assist you. No problem.
Yeah, that's a super good idea. Thank you.
No problem. One of the things that I loved about the automation, I was having a problem too, is that our automation is on universal coordinated time the first time I was using it. So everything I did in Power Automate happened on a universal coordinated time. When it was tracking dates in time, it was doing it universal coordinated time. So before we got that solved, what I had to do was I had to go in, there's an option for time. There's literally an application like you typed in schedule. If you type in time, it'll let you convert time. And this is a valuable aspect for anything. Like maybe you have customers that are all over the place and you want to make sure the date is in a specific time because of who you're talking to. So I was able to go in there and then not only could I convert the time from one to another, but I could also list how I wanted the time and date to show up. So I like to read Monday and I like to read the date. This military time, this is something else for me. And then also the dates, like is it month day or is it day month? Well, I was able to specify.
So instead of year, month, day, you can get it out. Okay.
I said 2 minutes, but if you give me 5 seconds, I can pull it
No,
up.
no, you keep going, Billy. We're good.
Okay.
Well, and to that point, thank you, Michael, that Microsoft actually added the ability to put in your checklist now when you're creating planner tasks with a flow, which was, we all stood up and, it was great. It was so exciting.
Yes, I love Planner as well. And that's another application that is interwoven with Power Automate. So being able to start a planner task when somebody submits a form and adding that to a board that you're already in, especially if that planner is in Teams, can be extremely valuable. So I'm going to pop this up real quick. Boop, you should be able to see it. Let's just do an instant cloud flow just to get quick. Manually trigger, create. So I want to show you here because it's a little bit clearer when you see it here. So TIME is all you're going to type. And then it's going to let me convert time zone. So when I click that, I can go in and click the time to convert. If I have it somewhere, that's great, but we'll just choose date, for instance. If I had time, so if I had a form that already had a time, I can do that. So I'm going to say timestamp so we get a real clear picture. The time zone it was in, I know that mine was UTC. So I typed in UTC, found my coordinated time is coordinated time period. So let me actually type that in. And boom, that was my time zone that everything was in. And so my destination time zone, of course, was Central. So I just typed in Central. And then let me pick the format string. So how do I want it to show? And it literally shows you all of the different ways that you can set this date in time. So I prefer this. This is my favorite one. Like, let's just make it real clear so you don't have any questions. And voila. So on my next step, when I wanted to maybe write it down somewhere like in an email, that time is now what's called dynamic content, which is content that's being read by Power Automate that you can leverage from another step in the automated process. So for instance, if I was doing this with a form, it would read all of the information in the form and let me plug in whatever the customer has typed somewhere. In this particular instance, I just want to plug in the converted time. And so now it will see the conversion of that time in the full date and time pattern that I selected here. And very quick. And you can add this process to any of your flows that you already have or any that you develop in the future. I always suggest putting it at the top of the flow. So in case your flow stalls somewhere else, that it always has the timestamp that you're looking for.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you for an excellent question. What other questions do we have? Let's see. Did we get any more in the chat, Michael?
Let's see. There was definitely some questions about like the licensing. When do you get charged for Power Automate? I answered that one. And then I'm posting, there's a gentleman, his name is Reza Durrani, and he is a Microsoft MVP for the Power Platform. He actually works for our local company, Catapult Systems. Okay. And he's a big deal in Microsoft land because he's an MVP, and he has his own YouTube channel that has all these great videos about Power Automate. And so
snap.
Yeah, exactly. So definitely check him out. And Amanda, I don't know the rate. It's more, so you have the ability. So let's just say you're going to create an application that accesses external data. Like maybe you have an Oracle database, for the love of God, I don't know why, but okay. So let's just say you did. So you have this Oracle database and you need to make a call to either a web services layer, JSON, you can do ODBC, whatever the case might be. If you're accessing an external data source, that's when you start getting into the need for the additional licenses. But what Billy was showing is that when you're using it integrated into Teams and you are staying inside of what's called, it used to be called the Common Data Service. It can be called Dataverse. It can be called Project Oakdale. Those are all kind of the same thing, which means the ecosystem of information services that are part of O365, then you don't have an additional license cost. And so, sometimes depending on what you need to do, you could even do a data export, like an ETL, extraction, transformation, and load from some line of business system and put it into like a SharePoint list. And then you could pull information out of a SharePoint list. That's one way to sort of get around paying additional licensing fees. But if it's going to be something pretty enterprise, and it's so fast to develop these and it's so powerful that it might just be worth spending the money to pay for a group of users to use like a higher function Power App or Power Automate, or to pay like a site license. So you can either buy it by the user or by the app. That's, again, I don't do the licensing, but I hope I'm not messing that up too badly and it changes to keep it confusing. Bruce Young made a really funny reference the other day. He said that we have some artificial intelligence that figures out when 61% of our customers understand the naming behind something and how our licensing works, the algorithm automatically changes the name or changes the licensing program just to make it ridiculous. So that's not really true. I'm just.
I was like, what? I was
really
so
true.
confused. I was like,
Bruce,
what?
Oh, Bruce is so funny, and he was like, "Oh my God, it seems like it." So, where's that sweater from, Billy? Got to get me one too.
So this is actually a custom sweater that my mom sewed for me. So is what I would like to say, but that's not true. It's from Macy's. And it's from a line called Sean John.
Right.
So it's vintage. It's been out for a couple of years, so but I do find several of these from Amazon. Has a really awesome. Oh, did I just say a cuss word? Oh my gosh! Amazon has a like a clothing line on their shopping site that has a lot of these cool like sweaters that look very 1950s or they're just the school kind of sweater thing that I like. So you can also get them there if you are amenable to going to.
Yeah. Oh, hey, I shop the heck out of Amazon. If the Amazon guy came by, he knocked the other day and he said, "Hey, are you guys okay? Because I didn't have to deliver a package today. I just wanted to check and make sure y'all are all right." So with that, we're at 4:30.
Everybody's Amazon guy.
One of our leaders in our IT department, he actually he's a whiz, right? And so his wife was doing a lot of serious shopping. So because he's a whiz and she's not, she's like internal interior design for this huge large company. He went on to the settings and blocked Amazon on their Wi-Fi and did not tell her. So every time she would try to I just laughed every time I think about it. So she thought something must be wrong with Amazon for like the longest time. And then she figured out like to go search and say, oh, why can't I get on it in my house?
That's not going to end well.
After she figured that out after quarantine, he was in trouble. So
yeah.
Also, if you want to play that game on somebody that you love, then you're welcome. Yes, Keith. You're welcome for that.
Yeah, no,
you know that emoji, this right? Or that GIF, that meme right here? This is you. This is you.
I don't know, man. I feel a little danger in that.
A little?
No risk, no reward.
Well, hey, we are at 4:32. We're a little over time. Billy, that was, as usual, awesome. Thanks to everybody for joining the community call this month. I'm going to send out some follow-up materials. And then next month, I think I'm going to dig into more of the some of these real-world scenarios and employee onboarding scenarios. And we'll go through some of those demos. And then Billy and I think we'll kind of do a tandem demo around some of the deeper functions that are already included with your team subscription that you may not be using to really leverage it fully. So
absolutely.
Again,
and Michael, can I ask if you guys have anything that you would like to see regarding Teams or Office 365's integration into Teams? Please type it in the chat. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but if you just want to type that, drop that link in there, drop that note in there. When me and Michael are planning for like the next 6 months or the next 3 months, 6 months, I would love to know that I have some kind of customer voice behind that, because we can do just about anything you want, right? We've got the right people. So type it in the chat right now if there's something you'd like to see or something that you heard of, or a particular issue or a thing that you're starting or about to start that you want to see if Teams can help you with. One of the things that we did is we built a literal international conference using Teams. So there's a ton of things you can do with it, and all you have to do is ask, and the possibilities are endless. So please type that now. I'd love to hear about it. Ooh, okay. So anything you want. Those, I like those words with Power Automate. Yeah, Power Automate is like life. Like, it saves my life on a regular basis. Status emails, status posts, especially now that we've kind of pivoted to using more Teams than emails. So just about everything has a Teams chat. Those reminder messages are just magical. Now, did I read that right, Michael? They don't have the ability to automate something into Teams, or they just don't have the ability to open the Power Automate in the Teams app?
Well, it depends on what's allowed inside of your environment, because Power Automate that has to be enabled as a first-party application, and so, but the capability to do all the additional calls and functions inside of Teams is being rolled out in the next 2 months. I'll just be a little vague. Yeah, so lots more coming.
Yeah, and there was a really good, I don't think I saw it. Did you show the GIF of what it looks like when you're scheduling a webinar?
Oh, yeah. What are you talking about?
There's a Microsoft mockup that plays like what it looks like when you're setting up a Microsoft webinar. I thought I saw you talking about this earlier.
I showed that last month. I don't have that slide up right now, but someone had asked if we could go into what does that look like when you do the webinar, and so I can have some more slides on that for next month. Yeah, because it'll be coming out.
Hey,
all right. Well, yes.
Sorry, I just saw Andrea Clark had her hand up real quick. She popped in like just now.
Yeah. What do you got?
Because last month you mentioned live events was going away, and I still have yet to get any information on that, and that is a big deal to us. Do you have any more information on that?
I don't. And what I thought, Andrea, was that it was like when we expanded these capabilities, it was going to be going away sooner. But the latest I've been hearing is it's not. There's still going to be live events, and then there's going to be the significantly expanded capabilities in Teams. So do me a favor, Andrea, if you would. Well, actually, I'll take a note here. I'm not real super good about taking notes then following up on it, but let me write it on a piece of paper right here next to my computer, and see if I can find it out.
And Michael, since Andrea and I are in the same organization, and since I'm the Teams admin, can you CC me on the information you give her?
Yeah, and who was that speaking?
Star.
Star, yeah, you bet. Okay.
I lost my ring light, y'all. Forgive me, it got dark in here.
Oh,
no. And Star. Okay, got it. Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, everybody have a fantastic evening, and thank you again. This is so much fun. I love this. This is like one of my favorite times of the month. So thanks for being awesome, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Billy.
Thanks, Michael. Thank you, Billy.
Thank
you, Billy.
Flesh.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys.